Hi there, Emma Drew here, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a YouTuber, the podcast that makes YouTube simple and gets up close and personal with successful YouTube creators, helping you understand what it takes to grow your YouTube channel the easy way. I'd like to thank TubeBuddy for sponsoring today's show. TubeBuddy is a free browser extension that helps you easily manage and optimize your YouTube channel. It's the YouTube channel tool I personally can't live without. For more information, head over to tubebuddy.com or check out their link in the show notes below. Today I have the lovely Maggy from Redhead Art, a fantastic arts and crafts YouTube channel and brand. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about how Maggy got started, and we're going to jump straight in. Hello, Maggy, are you there?
Hello, thanks for having me today.
It's great that you could join us. Thanks so much. Actually, I have just introduced you a little bit, but I think if you can tell us a little bit more about your background and tell us how you actually started your influencer journey.
Okay, great. So Redhead Art is essentially a kids craft blog. There's some stuff for older people as well, but on the whole, the focus is about kids. And my ethos for the brand is very much about it should be easy, doable. I want kids to have this real sort of feeling of success when they make my crafts. Of course, they're not going to be perfect, but it's not about perfection. It's just about having a go. So that's in essence what I do. And I started it. I think that I got to that point over time. It wasn't a straight away thing. I started it probably about 9 years ago, 9 years ago. I started a website. So I started a blog called Redhead Art. I wasn't planning on blogging. I was actually planning on selling kids pop art for nurseries and bedrooms. And that was because I'd made some for my kids and they looked really nice, and I had lots of compliments, and I made some as presents, new baby presents. And then people were like, oh, maybe you should try selling them. So it was that kind of, you have a lot of new mothers who are at home, they're not sure yet about whether they want to go back into traditional work. And I was kind of just sort of looking for something I could do from home that I enjoy, but also that could earn a little bit of money. Certainly the same amount of money. You have that dilemma where a lot of women go back to work and the nurseries are so expensive that you come home with either nothing or like £300. So I thought if I can at least make that £300 and doing something I enjoy and I'm at home with the kids, then that's a win.
Absolutely.
So it was really, actually, I'd say relatively modest ambitions for what I wanted to do. Because £300 a month obviously isn't very much, and you can't live off that. But at the time, it was more about replacing the income I might have had if I'd gone back to work. And then very quickly I realized actually I don't like the paintings. They're really hard work and they're stressful and it's quite time intensive. And I set up the blog just so that I had an online presence. It wasn't really, I wanted a proper website. The blog was just sort of an interim because it's quick, relatively easy. And I just thought, why not do that? And then I realized actually the blog's really fun because the crafts I was putting up there, which sort of was more about talking to my audience rather than trying to sell, they were fun, they were easy. I could do stuff with my kids. It was kind of really focusing on me as a mother at home. And it was very low stress. There was no stress because I didn't have to sell something for £100 and make sure it's really good because you're asking a lot of money from people. And I very quickly realized maybe in the first 6 months that actually, yes, you can make money from this. And it started off very slow and very gentle. And I used to just sell literally button ads where I used to contact toy companies and say, I have this blog, it's growing, it's got a nice audience. Would you like to put a little ad on my site for £10 a month? I mean, that's literally how it started. But it gave me the confidence to see it was going somewhere. And that's how I started blogging. And it kind of went from there.
So then tell me a bit about your Facebook page, because you have, is it over 2 million
Yes,
likes?
it's 2.4 at the moment, I think.
2.4 million.
Yes, it's
Wow.
a crazy figure, isn't it? Well, Facebook is a funny one. At the time, I remember, again, everything's gradual. So I think if people are starting out and they're new to this and they want to blog or be a YouTuber or have a great big social media platform like that, you've got to remember that when you look at other people, it was a journey, and that whoever starts out also needs to go on a journey. So it's really important not to say, how do I do everything at once brilliantly? How do I get to 2.4 million Facebook followers, overnight. You don't. And I actually remember with Facebook, I actually didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I was like, why would you put what is a page? Why do you need a page when you've got your personal account? So, I really, and the friend was like, no, you must have a page. It's like so things are changing and evolving. And then I went, all right, then I'll have a page. And I do remember getting my first 100 followers on Facebook and thinking that was amazing. And it really is about those small milestones at the beginning. They're so important.
Right.
The first button I sold for £10. The first 100 likes I had on Facebook. You have to celebrate those milestones and not. That's why I hear from a lot of new YouTubers and bloggers, they're constantly comparing themselves, and you can't do that. You just have to focus on what you're
Your
doing
small steps as
and
well.
literally, exactly. And then each step at a time, celebrate it, be pleased with yourself, you've achieved something, and then move on to the next step. So
Yeah.
I really remember that 100 on Facebook.
Mhm.
It was a big thing.
And was your blog growing at the same rate as your Facebook page?
I would say they're probably all growing at the same sort of time. So, in the early days, we used to get the word out about blogs on things like Twitter. And also there's something called linky parties where other bloggers where you could share your links on their websites, basically. And it's sort of in the early days, it was very much those two platforms for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And things
massive.
shifted. Pinterest
Right.
came along, really big for blogs, and YouTube actually. And that got very popular.
So what's your presence on Pinterest like? Is it a big one?
Well, this is the interesting thing. With Pinterest, I have something like 360,000, so it's
Mhm.
significantly smaller than Facebook, but it drives,
A lot more traffic to your blog?
yes, loads more traffic to my blog. It's maybe
Wow.
four times, 5 times the amount of Facebook.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful actually, because it's something I've been looking into recently for my own channel. It's something that has been quite a slow growth, don't you think, over the years? People don't talk
Yeah,
about it much, but I think what you just explained was how powerful it really is in terms of driving or traffic to your website
absolutely.
or where you want to drive them to.
Definitely don't underestimate Pinterest. I mean, I've
Mm.
seen pins where somebody else has pinned one of my projects. So you can look at that in your analytics. And I'm like, oh, that pin's got me a lot of traffic. And I'll look at it. And the person who's pinned it, they have like 20 followers. I mean, honestly, Pinterest is really egalitarian.
Wow.
And what Pinterest is about, I mean, obviously your followers will help a little bit, but what Pinterest is about is good image, good text. So you think of it as a bit like SEO, or like, when you do your YouTube descriptions and you're looking at the keywords and you're
Yes.
looking at.
Or the SEO. Mhm.
Exactly. So that's
Mhm.
just as important as on Pinterest as it is anywhere else. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's basically a combination. So again, YouTube, you've got a good thumbnail, you've got a good description. Pinterest,
Mhm.
you've got a good image, you've got a good description. So if
Mhm.
you are looking to explore Pinterest, I'd
Mhm.
say yes, go for it.
Mhm.
And secondly, I would say look at the images that are there. So I wouldn't,
Mhm.
for example, I wouldn't pin your video straight onto Pinterest, although Pinterest does like that. They like videos on Pinterest, but I'm not convinced the ads run on it. I'm a bit uncertain about that.
Mhm.
So what I would do is I would make an image like you would do a thumbnail, but obviously in different proportions. Pinterest likes portrait. Then you upload this image, and then you link that image to your video or blog.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've done that myself actually, and so it is incredibly powerful. But while we're talking about YouTube, I do want to celebrate as something that you've achieved. You have got over 500,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. So this really brings me into asking you a key question. What made you start getting it onto YouTube? I mean, come from a blog and from other social
Yeah.
platforms, haven't you?
Yes.
So it's really interesting to see that. What is it, in 2016? Is that right? You started your YouTube channel, am I right?
Well, I've had it for longer, but I think I started focusing on it, as in
Right.
working on it properly around that time. I think it was the end of 15, beginning of 16.
And why
Um,
did you decide to do that then at that point?
so I felt that my blog traffic was doing well, but it felt like it was plateauing a little bit. In fact, I think it has plateaued. It's sort of almost constantly at the same level, a bit down, a bit up, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I wanted to basically reach a new audience. So my blog is very much teachers and parents, whilst YouTube, as most people know, tend to be the kids themselves.
Right.
Obviously, there's teachers there too, and there's parents as well, but and then they do use it, and I do see their comments, but it is I would say mainly the kids themselves working on a project.
Mm-hmm.
So YouTube for me was opening up a new audience, and with that a new income stream. So
Mm.
been very conscious of having all my eggs in one basket. So Facebook, even though it's 2.4 million and it sounds amazing, it's one basket, and the algorithms are crippling, right? The algorithms are exhausting.
Really?
And
Wow.
if I only had Facebook right now,
Hmm.
my income would be way down, and it would be, so disheartening.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've obviously done and achieved so much outside of Facebook and continue to do so. So tell me a bit about work process with videos. How did you find it was different working on a video platform compared to the blog that you were used to doing and the Facebook and the Pinterest?
So again, I'd say it was a gradual migration. So at first, I would do my videos on my phone, and then I would also edit it on my phone. And you may or may not know that iMovies on your phone is very limited as to what you can and can't do.
Hmm.
So it
But
was
it
a big,
certainly got you started.
but it is how me got me started exactly. And I think that for me is key. The barriers I see most people having when they don't progress with something is that they genuinely they just worry about it being perfect. So it kind of, again, it's crippling if you're trying to get it perfect, perfect, perfect. You just start. You do it as best as you can at the time. So my technical skills were quite limited at the time, and probably still are. It's fine. And then you hone your skills over time. You play and you experiment, and you move off the iPhone and you move onto Final Cut Pro or whatever. But again, I think it's about being kind to yourself and giving a chance to learn things bit by bit as you go along.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the first year of videos was a lot more effort and work than videos right now is. For me now I just get up, I'll quickly shoot a video, I'll come back, I'll quickly edit it and just chuck it on. And it doesn't feel, I mean, it still takes time, but it doesn't feel like it's a massive onerous process. Was before I was like, I need to clear a surface, I need to make sure the light's right, I need to mentally prepare for it, and I had to feel really organized. I couldn't just start it
Yes.
because it was a bigger deal because I wasn't used to it.
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
and there's nerves and, oh, I've got to say the right thing
Yeah.
and whatever, because you're not so good at editing and whatever. So yeah, so it was, 4 or 5 years ago, it was a lot more effort than it is now.
Mm. And so at what point did you start thinking or seeing your subscribers and video views growing? Because you've actually got over 100 million video views. That is massive.
Thank you. So subscribers, uh,
Hmm. At what point did you really feel like, oh, this is working?
yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Maybe I was lucky that when I had around 30 or 40,000 subscribers, there was lots going on at YouTube itself, and you could YouTube London. They had a program called the Helium program, and they had a Next Up programs, and I was lucky to get picked for them. So I guess you had that sort of whole, oh, something's going on. So that I had that external factor of
Hmm.
people kind of believing in me, and that's always helpful. But I'm not convinced that those programs helped me that much. I think in terms of growth,
Yes.
um, I think I can't say I ever had it where it massively took off. You have
Right.
some channels that go literally from naught to like 100,000 in three
Yeah.
months or something.
Right.
I've never had that kind of growth, which is a bit
But it
depressing.
was a gradual, steady growth. So
It
I
was
guess that's
gradual,
what you
exactly. It's that
were
whole
experiencing.
slow, steady wins the race sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, and did you find that people were coming from your other, platforms, like your blog and your Facebook, or did you feel that this was really brand new audience coming?
I would say pretty much brand new audience. Obviously, I had support from, I don't know, fellow bloggers and stuff who'd come and watch the odd video to help boost my views or whatever. And of course, they all subscribe. But in terms of big numbers, they're
Yeah.
relatively small. So it was nice to have that support and
Mhm.
feel that you're doing something. But I would definitely say YouTube's a different audience to my blog. So for example, I put something on Instagram the other day that's on my blog already, but not live on YouTube yet. And one of the Instagrammers was, oh, I can't find it on your channel. So,
Wow.
it's clearly almost not registering I have a blog, even though I have a video embedded on the blog, not a YouTube one, but it's the same video. So they could have watched it and made it. I came to the blog, but clearly they were waiting for it to appear on YouTube first. So I think for me it was always slow and steady, with your occasional, a video doing really well and therefore a little rush of subscribers, but nothing where I would say, oh yeah, it's suddenly taking off. And in terms of income and returns from
Well, I
YouTube,
was actually going to ask you a little bit about how you monetize your video content and how you even navigate brand deals, if you've had any or want to get any.
yeah. So my main income overall in general for the blog as well is ad revenue. I mean, it is literally about eyeballs on my website and eyeballs on my videos, and that's what makes me money. What pays my living, so to speak.
Through the advertising, right?
Advertising, yeah. So that's all automated. So I'm not, no longer going to companies saying, please put your £10 ad on my website. It's all,
Right.
it's all auto. It's like Google Ads, but it's through a different company. It's
Right.
effectively the same thing, which I love because it means I can focus on content, which is what people like. And I feel I can be genuine, I can be me because I'm doing the crafts that I like rather than, like a sponsored project where you're kind of working with somebody. Having said that, I do like sponsored work as well, obviously, but the ad revenue is my key income. Having said that, things change. So
Yeah.
on YouTube, I was making a nice little income. It wasn't, I would say, a huge salary, but it's
Mhm.
more than say a TA would earn in a year.
Mhm.
If you wanted of a reference, and it is going down at the moment. So I
Mhm.
think what this is like.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of the recent Adpocalypse? Another one,
Yeah, it's
we have experienced that. I mean, this is
yeah.
something that is fairly common now.
Mhm.
We have to accept that in some ways we can't always rely on a YouTube income, and we have to, like you're doing,
Yeah.
is not put all our eggs in one basket and see what other opportunities there are for monetization. But the Adpocalypse is something that affects kids channels in particular,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we're both in that same boat there.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. It's I think it's the ad that you say that those issues around the advertisers not being nervous and not wanting to advertise. That's one big issue. And then I think I've also been hit a little bit by the algorithms. I'm kind of looking at my last say 20 videos and they're just not taking off in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yes, but again, it could be that the algorithm has changed to support maybe the apocalypse, who knows? And that's why your videos aren't being suggested as
Yes,
much as they were. Um,
exactly. And it is a problem. It is a
yes.
problem, and I'm very conscious of it. For me, YouTube is still worth it.
Mhm.
Still making money. I'm always ever hopeful. You just need 1 or 2 videos to take off, right? And that
Mhm.
can be your income
Mhm.
for a year if you're lucky. And it
That's
doesn't have to
right.
take off straight away. It can
Mhm.
sometimes. A lot of my YouTube income is actually driven by search YouTube traffic and not subscriber traffic. So
Wow.
yeah, so I'd say most of my views are actually search driven, but then my crafts are very searchable. If that makes sense.
And so what would you say is your first of all, your favorite video that you've done? And secondly, the video that is doing like your most viral video?
Okay, so favorite is really tricky because I have favorites all the time and they keep changing. And I'm like, oh, I love this now, and oh, I love this now. But if I had to pick one, I would probably say because for me it felt like a little bit of a turning point. So maybe back to when you said when did your channel take off, or not? I mean, it was a moderate taking off. Was I have a series called Corner Bookmarks, and the kids love them, and I love
Corner bookmarks, right.
Corner
Okay.
Bookmarks, and the kids love them because they're made from paper. There's like literally I have over 120 different designs. In other words, over 120 different videos of these corner bookmarks.
Really?
Oh yeah,
120 videos on
oh yeah,
bookmarks?
yeah. It's this
Corner bookmarks. I'll have to look
Wonderful
that up.
book, yeah. I even have a playlist for them. The teachers love them because it's got an educational element, i.e., book stroke reading. They're really nice little gifts that you can make if you're giving a book at Christmas. So bookmarks are, they're fun, they're easy. Most people read. Even if you're, or if you don't like reading, the kids make them for their subject books at school. Literally bookmark the sections they have to read next for school or whatever. So there's lots of uses. And these bookmarks, I sat down once and decided to make an emoji version of them, and I think they just look great. I think they look really good, and they've been copied loads by other videos and other YouTubers, which usually is a sign that they're good. And I just really like them because for me, they're just really authentic. I remember sitting down and going, how can I turn this square piece of paper, because the bookmarks are square, how can I turn it into a round bookmark? And I thought they looked really
Wow.
good, and they look
That's
really nice. So
very innovative of you.
yeah, I thought so at the time.
Yeah.
But so I'm really pleased with those because they were kind of a staple also on my channel for a long time, and I think a lot of kids knew that they came from my site, if that makes sense. So
Well,
I
I
think,
was actually going to ask you because obviously, if you start creating things, and I found this myself, is that when I first started, I created a lot of characters for my channel, MyVoxSongs, nursery rhymes, and a lot of people would just literally lift the whole thing and
oh,
copy the
yes.
character and the storyboard and redo it, obviously with huge investment, and turn it into a 3D video. But how do you protect yourself in that way?
Well, to be honest, when it comes to crafts and DIYs, there's not that much you can do. And all I have to do is just because you can't copyright it. I mean, all I can do is I can, if somebody takes my video and re-uploads it, that obviously I can get taken down. But if somebody
Right.
takes my design and remakes it, then I can't do much about it. If it's a viewer, so I
Yeah.
can, sometimes you can tell if it's a child or if it's another big site trying to get bigger. If it's a
Yes.
child, I'll often say to them, look, if you put in your video title inspired by Redhead art and in your video description from Redhead art, I've got I call it a Tedster playlist.
Lovely.
So I basically add their videos to that playlist. So it's almost like a reward for them having had a go at my craft and also being honest and admitting that it's from me rather
That's a
than,
fantastic idea.
yeah, and that works quite nice. Like, it's a little way to give back. Um,
Yeah.
it is nice to see. I love seeing when the kids make my crafts. I love it.
Yeah.
But obviously, when they're then recreating the whole video, you're like, okay. But if it's the kids, it's fine.
Yes.
If it's a big page,
Hmm.
not much you can do. Occasionally I'll send an email and say, look, can't you just come up with your own designs? But on the whole, it doesn't achieve much. It's much better to let go, move on, and find that next big thing, if that makes sense.
Mm.
It's tricky. It's
Mm.
not easy.
What I wanted to ask you was, I wanted to know what you thought about traditional media, and the videos that you're creating are very professional. And I don't know if you remember back in the day when I was younger, I used to watch this program on TV called what was it, Take Heart.
Oh, Tony
Uh,
Hawk.
Tony Hart, yeah, and it was really where he was doing. There was some arts and crafts, and there was lots of paintings, and they would just display that, and I loved that, as a
Yes,
child.
I remember
And I,
that one.
and I think your videos comes across like that to children. That's how they're consuming it, and they're enjoying it, and being inspired. And I wonder what you think about traditional media like TV for kids, CBBS, all that kind of stuff. Is that something that, would you like to maybe license your videos to them, or have you already had conversations like that, or magazines that are children's based or parenting based? Have you had any sort of
Um,
connections
so
or?
the current Mr. Hart is, I could say, Mr. Maker. I don't know if you know Mr.
Oh,
Maker.
yes, I know Mr.
He's
Maker
on
very well.
CBeebies.
Yeah.
So I sometimes joke that I want to be the new Mr. Maker, but I don't really, as in, I like the flexibility that YouTube and my blog give to me. And if I were, say, Mrs. Maker, I'd have to go into the BBC and I'd have to work on their schedule and their whatever. So it's not an ambition for me personally to be on TV as such. Licensing, I'd love it. If they said to me, look, we'll have your videos and we'll pay you X and I can carry on as I am, or even create content for them, but from home at the quality that I'm already producing it at, I'd be all over that because it's I think we touched on it before. It's all about different income streams, isn't it? And the more different income streams I have, the better. They can only be better if that makes sense. And I do projects for brands where I use their products and I do a video that they then upload on their social channels. So I do stuff like that. But obviously, it'd be amazing if you could just hand over all your work, get a nice royalty fee, and
Hmm.
get it back. I would be up for it. And similarly, I've done the same with magazines. Again, it's not tons, but every so often, they'll pay you a relatively small fee. It's never huge, the magazines,
Hmm.
and they'll use your photos and your text and have it printed.
Hmm.
But I think magazines think we're easy pickings, and they usually try and get it all for free in the name of exposure. And I
Right.
can tell you, exposure does not pay the mortgage. Don't do it.
No. No.
It's so tempting. Do it once because it's fun to have your stuff in print, but don't do it regularly.
Mm. But in terms of, sometimes I find, like with traditional media, I mean, the new generation and even parents these days, they're not really adopting it as they did. So I don't know how powerful it is anymore,
Mm.
whether it has as much power as you have, being a YouTuber with more than 100 million views and continuing to grow and be popular worldwide. What do you think about the media landscape that we're in? Because you're up against major corporations like CBBC
Yeah, I think they
and
are.
Disney even. And then there's little old you and me doing our
You know,
creative thing with, over 500 million views between us.
yeah. It is sometimes a bit crazy. I think BBC, for example, isn't that brilliant on YouTube, but I think Disney, because you mentioned them, I believe that they have several YouTube channels. I can't quite remember what
Yes,
they're called,
that's right. Yes.
and they I do find that difficult because they are producing video content, daily, at an even better quality because they've got all the resources, usually with child actors who are really fun and inspiring. And so that's interesting that they are moving almost like Netflix. They're creating their own new content and series is for things like YouTube. So that long term could be a problem for small creators like us.
Yes.
So it's worth keeping an eye on. Genuinely, I'm not just being doom and gloom, but there are some big companies that do produce much more content, much quicker. Sometimes your stuff, and you just have to suck it up and hope that you still get some of the views that you used to get.
So actually, you mentioned about the frequency that some of these bigger companies and more established brands can upload to YouTube. So what's your sort of frequency? What have you found is the optimum frequency for you and your type of videos?
So I used to do 2 a week, then I
Mm-hmm.
went up to 3 a week, especially during my bookmark phase.
Uh-huh.
And then I went, maybe a year ago, I went back down to 2 a week, which could also be part of the reason why I'm getting less views, if I'm being honest. But I think 2 is a minimum. Although
Yeah.
I know people who do 1 a week, and it seems to work fine for them as well.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're trying to build up a channel and grow it, I personally think 2 is a minimum.
Yes.
And the 3 worked for a while, but it's also really important not to burn out. And there's a lot of talk about YouTube burnout, and I
Yeah.
understand that. And then there's a fellow blogger of mine that went into YouTube at the same time as me, and she very quickly got into a crowd with the bigger DIYers and really popular, and she grew really quickly to about 750,000. And I remember going, oh, why it's going so slowly. But she
Right.
was doing things that were like 5 of this, 5 of that. Whilst I was doing my one of.
Right.
So she was basically working 5 times as hard as me, right?
Yes.
And she's burnt out. I look at her
Right.
channel every so often to see what she's up to. I've even messaged her to ask if she was still uploading, and she was like, yeah, I am, except she isn't. And so she obviously, and also the stuff, she very quickly went into style of craft, which I can see why her channel grew so quickly. It's very I don't know, like lip balms and pink and pencil cases and whatever, but all, so I can see why it was super popular, but it wasn't what I've done with my.
Sustainable maybe because
But also I've
if
stayed true to myself. I make stuff
yes.
that I believe in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And hers are really fun to watch, and I don't want to knock her at all because she's worked really hard and she deserves all that. However, I don't know if it was true to herself and she burnt out and she stopped. So I think you have to find a schedule frequency that works for you, which for me at the moment is 2 a week.
Yeah.
It varies.
Yes.
And you need to do stuff that you like. Yes, if you want to grow quicker, you can tweak your content and make it more popular. But I just can't do that kind of crafts because I don't
Yeah.
like it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in your case, you've got a lot going on. You've got a blog, you've got
Yeah.
your Facebook, you've got your Instagram, you've got your Pinterest, you've got your YouTube, and they all have different purposes, don't they? In your whole sort of ecosystem that is Red
Yeah.
Ted Art.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I
That
think,
helped me as well. Yes.
yeah, and I think some people who only have one YouTube channel, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the main
Yeah.
driver for
Yeah.
their traffic or
Yeah.
income revenue stream, then they need to concentrate on that and that alone. And yes, there is, and I suffered from burnout myself, but you sort of come back and you find other ways around
Yes.
that. You unfortunately, that is the YouTube journey.
Yes, it is. It is.
And
And
it's
for example, I'm managing my risk of burnout as well at the moment by I'm putting up lots of compilation videos. So now that I've got 4 years worth of YouTube videos in my back pocket, I can cut and chop and bring them all together in loads of different ways, which then so every second or third video, I'm trying not to do it every second, but every second or third video is a roundup video, and that means I don't have to create new content. So there are different ways of managing it, and the kids do like the 5 of videos, which is like I was mentioning this other lady was doing, but she was doing them from scratch. I've had them all uploaded separately, and now I'm bringing them together just to get 1
absolutely. And
2 out of it, right?
I mean, that's exactly. I mean, I used to work for the music industry, and I worked for the guys who made the Now series of pop music.
Yeah.
I think they're on to Now 100 now. I must have passed 100. I don't know. But anyway, so obviously all they did was put all these amazing hits together in one album, and then that would sell like millions. It was like fantastic, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
creating a back catalogue of our own IP or our own videos, and we can afford to do that. And it's an opportunity that a lot of people don't really take advantage of, but
Yes.
it's a fantastic one. If you are suffering from burnout, you're able to pick out, say, your top 3 videos from the last 2 months or 3 months and put
Yeah.
them together. And if there's a running theme that
Exactly.
brings them together, you can upload that, and you're actually adding a lot more value to people, because people don't have much time to trawl through all your videos, and so you're just handing it to them on a plate, and they're very grateful for it.
And then I link to my old ones, and then I say, because I usually speed up these compilation videos, and then some people sometimes go, "Oh, it's too fast." Not many, but some. And then I'm like, well, that's not a problem, because here's a slow video, so they can still look at the slow one in their
Yeah.
time. And back to you, I think you mentioned planning a little while ago. I mean, that's where planning comes into it. So now I will look at my content. Obviously I'm a little bit further down the line with YouTube, but even if you're starting out, you can look at your content and you go, well, make what you enjoy, or do the type of content that you enjoy, but do a little bit of planning. So for example, think about, in my case, paper or whatever. I'm like, oh, I've got 3 paper strawberry crafts. If I make one more, I can do a compilation video. So you can plan that in, because then with that one more video, you've actually secured 2 more videos, because you've got enough for compilation, let's say 2 months later.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's interesting actually talking about planning your content. Is that something that you are doing right now, or planning to do like a bit more? And
I
also
do
I was going to ask actually if when you do your content planning for YouTube, does it sort of fit into your other platforms? Like, would you be uploading to your videos to Facebook as well, or is it just YouTube?
Well, so in terms of planning, I tend to follow the seasons.
Right.
So it's very,
Okay.
very seasonal, my stuff. So right now I'm right in the middle of Easter, a bit of Mother's Day, but not massively, because it's actually bigger in the US than it is in the UK. In the US, haven't got their Mother's Day until June, I think. Maybe it's no May.
May. Hmm.
And so right now for me is Easter. So I'd look at so in terms of planning, I'd look at my YouTube schedule for the next 3 weeks. Basically, I'll fill in some ideas of what I think I could do over the next few weeks, what I fancy. Obviously, there's some gaps and stuff, but this is where my compilation videos come in. So there's already, one video in a week for the next till up to Easter.
Right.
And scheduled, not necessarily got all the keywords typed up, and hasn't necessarily got the thumbnails, but it's semi ready.
It's in the can, pretty much.
Yeah, and then with around that, I then like earlier on when we were preparing the podcast, I'm making new crafts. So I'm like, okay, I want some more paper ones, or I want some more printables, and then I'll plan around what it is I'm after. So at the moment, I'm after Easter printables, because I can then sell them on something called Teachers Pay Teachers
Mm-hmm.
as another income stream. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm driven. I used to be driven by just what I like. Now I'm driven by a combination of what I like, but also what I need. So I need those printables for Teachers Pay Teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about ideas of where I could create printables around. I used to give them away for free, my printables, but now I'm like, sometimes I give a little bit away. And then if you want extra, you go to Teachers Pay Teachers. So there is some planning, but I wouldn't say it's like right down to the last minute. It's loosely following the seasons. The summer is the hardest, because there's no obvious season to plan for.
Have you ever collaborated with any other channels?
Yes, I do. Particularly in that first year,
Mm-hmm.
I have to confess I'm not convinced that it's useful, but it's been nice in terms of building a community. So I still collaborate, but mainly with people I know already. And so, for example, I'm in for New York for a conference in April, and I'm meeting up with one of the YouTubers that I started that I've actually sort of known online for about 4 years. I'm really excited to meet her, because it's like we chat and we know each other, and it's really sweet to be able to see her. But I would say the collaborations, what they've given me, are community. I'm not convinced that it drives massive traffic,
Right.
if I'm being honest.
Yes.
So I would do them. If I, if I was advising someone new, I would definitely do them, and I wouldn't say it's not worth it. But manage your expectations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What opportunities would you see for people like you just coming onto YouTube now? Maybe they've got like a large Instagram following, or even a large Facebook or Pinterest, but they're only just coming onto YouTube because YouTube is becoming a little bit more, I don't know, accessible, but there's a lot more talk about it. What would you say to them? What opportunities and what tips would you advise them?
Well, I think video is becoming increasingly important. In fact, I didn't answer your other question about, how does it cross connect my YouTube and my Facebook and my this and my that. So I put all my YouTube videos on my blog. I don't put them on Facebook because I earn no money from them being on Facebook. I know that sounds really mercenary, but I don't. So it's no point. I put links to my blog where the video is embedded so I can earn. I put that on Facebook. And I think, so if you're switching from, say, like Instagram or from Pinterest or from somewhere else to YouTube, I think it's good, basically, is the short answer. I think video is becoming more and more and more and more and more important. So if you can get used to doing videos, then at least you're kind of in there with the competition. And it's just, it is like everything. Once you've got the hang of it, they're not as daunting or as tricky or as awful as you think. In terms of general advice, I genuinely would just say go for it. So we were so good at coming up with reasons of why we can't do something. And I think without doing it, you're not going to grow or develop or learn. And as hard as it is, you just have to bite that bullet and just have a go. And in terms of opportunities, yes, if you are big on one platform, tell that platform, tell it in your Instagram stories, tell it in your Instagram feed, just tell people that you are on YouTube and that video content's available. I do put like short form versions on Facebook, or what I've been enjoying doing at the moment is I'll shoot my video, I'll do the intro for my video, and then I'll do another intro just for Facebook, right? So I will video showing the craft, chatting about it, and then I'll go, click on the link.
All right. And where do you put your link? Because I've heard that if you put your link on Facebook, the whole Facebook and YouTube rivalry means that Facebook don't really push your post out to the feed.
That's where my blog comes into it. So I do link to my blog. If I didn't have a blog, I would probably try and trick Facebook. I would disguise my YouTube link.
I see. Very good tip.
I don't know if it worked, but that's what I would do, because as you say, there is that rivalry.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm convinced YouTube blocks YouTube videos. Sorry, Facebook not blocks, but
yes, they don't particularly promote those YouTube posts. And what I do, and what I advise other people to do, is to put your YouTube link in the comments.
Oh yes, that's a good idea. Absolutely.
And that helps because I don't think they have as much control over that, because it's not actually in the post. Exactly. And I often say in the post, here's a screenshot or a thumbnail of my latest video. Check the comments for the link and go watch it on YouTube. And I try not to even use the words YouTube.
I'm so with you on that. They pick up on it, don't they? Go and check my YouTube channel. No, don't write that. You can say it, but don't ever write it, because the algorithm minions
knows too much.
Exactly, all the little tricks.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
Other ways of growing your channel. So obviously leverage the platform you're on if you can. Pinterest, even if you're small, I know I said it earlier on, just put it onto Pinterest as well. Just remember that the image for Pinterest is portrait rather than landscape. You can put landscape up if you want. I would,
that's right. So there's a little bit of work to do.
And with Pinterest, just be mindful that it's like SEO. So as the care you take with your video description, you should put that care into your Pinterest description. Except with Pinterest, make it a bit more normal. On YouTube, often you get away with quite spammy, repetitive keywords.
Yes.
And don't look spammy on Pinterest. Don't like it. It's really about, if you have an audience somewhere already, it's about leveraging it. And a lot of brands actually will work with you on YouTube, even if it's a small channel. They just want their video on YouTube. A lot of them don't care how big or small the channel is. Others do, obviously, but I know people with like under 1,000 subscribers being paid £1,500 to do a YouTube video, and I think that's pretty decent, right?
Yeah. So doing a bit of product placement, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So just remember that just because you've got a small channel doesn't mean you're not valuable to a brand. Just from a very small point of view, even if you don't have many subscribers, but if they had to make a video and hire a cameraman, a lighting man, woman, an editor, the talent, which is you, and then had to go home and take all that stuff and edit it into a video and upload it to YouTube, that would cost them thousands,
That's
right? So if you
absolutely.
think of a day rate for a cameraman, they're probably charging cheap 300 to 500 pounds a day.
Yeah.
To just add that up, so even if your channel isn't massive,
hmm
the fact that you're creating video content is worth at least £1,000, at
Yeah.
least.
At least, yeah, absolutely. Brilliant advice there. Brilliant tip, because that's something I know that a lot of, especially newer creators, find that they find it quite difficult to know what
Well, they think, oh, I'm so small, I'm not really worthy. I should only get the
to
freebie.
charge.
But
Yes,
actually,
that's
no,
right.
the video creation itself, the work you're putting into creating a video is worth actually quite a lot to these
Yes,
brands.
absolutely. And I think it takes a little while for you to be confident with your videos and your style and what you're putting together and your ability to create a video. And I think after a little while, you need to be able to have a minimum that you would
Exactly. And also,
accept.
you got to remember that if a brand came to you and said, "Oh, I want you to put this video up on your channel," they'll have seen your channel, and they'll have seen the quality of videos you produce. So even if you lack confidence about your content, so for example, I know you said you like my videos and you think they're very good. I sometimes think they're a bit amateurish, but that's because I'm self-critical and all that kind of stuff. The fact when a brand comes to me, I know they've seen my videos. So I always say to them, I will produce a video to the quality that you can already see on the channel. In other words, reconfirming you'll get something along those lines, not better quality, not worse quality. And then I know, so it gives me the confidence that they know what they're getting,
Yeah.
you know, and even if you think yourself, because you're self-critical, that they're rubbish, the fact that they're talking to you means they're not. Otherwise, I wouldn't have emailed you to
Yes,
ask.
that's right. I think a lot of these brands, they just want to get their foot in the door on YouTube.
Exactly.
And I think also a lot of people are actually aware that, I mean, you can have a nice shiny flash video that costs hundreds, or sorry, even hundreds of thousands, but maybe thousands. But ultimately, the viewer has a deep connection with the creator, and they will accept what the creator is giving to them. It's a very direct thing, and they don't have huge expectations in terms of the quality. They have to be able to hear it nice and clearly and see clearly what they're doing. But anything else is a perk, all the polish,
Exactly. Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I think that's where YouTube offers you, and another opportunity for any creators coming on, is really having a deep connection with your audience, and a really loyal audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And ultimately, you can monetize that because those people are going to follow you wherever you are. And you're building a brand just like you did, like you have done with Red Ted Art. I mean, it's an amazing brand. It's been built up over the last few years. It's absolutely huge in social media numbers and views and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot going on, and there's huge potential for you now. You have worked hard for it. So
Mm.
actually, we're coming up towards the end of our time together. So I'm gonna I wanted to ask you before you go, what's next for you? What's next for Red Ted Art?
Oh well, so rather excitingly, I have a new book out in September, which is called Paper Crafts, originally. But I'm really excited about the book actually because it goes back to, I think I spoke at the very beginning about my brand values, which are about this easy, accessible, doable, giving people confidence in crafting, that kind of thing. And so these paper crafts are, I'm hoping, there's some more challenging ones, but you need some challenges as well. Things that you can really actually go out, go home, get a pad of paper, get some scissors, get some pens, and away you go. So it uses nothing special. It's colorful paper, or white printer paper or pens, and it should just be hopefully really accessible. So if you know a child who likes to craft but hasn't got many materials, or you want to do a birthday present, buy a pad of rainbow paper. Brilliant gift as far as I'm concerned. I think it's amazing. So I'm really excited about that, because for me it's about giving kids that confidence to just create and have a go.
And so when is this launching? When's the book
In
launching?
September. So you
In
can get
September this year,
it. Yes.
2019. Okay.
You can get it on pre-order already, which is brilliant. And Amazon will do a price match. So if you, in inverted commas, buy it now on Amazon, when it launches,
Right,
you'll
okay.
get the cheapest price. And
Yeah.
usually around launch date, it drops significantly. So it looks quite expensive now, but that's because Amazon has these weird things it does when you upload a new publication. In September, it was when the price match comes in, it should drop to around £10 or £9 or something.
Okay. So actually, I'll get that link and I'll put that in the show notes and in my own blog. So if you're going to be looking for that book, I'll have it all there for you.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'm working on is something called Teachers Pay Teachers. I touched on that briefly earlier on as well.
Teachers. Okay.
Yeah, so Teachers Pay Teachers is a resource website where I think it started off that literally teachers had created lesson plans, and instead of recreating the work, actually it was like, why don't you share it with another teacher? Then that teacher can share something with you. So I think it's a really clever concept, and it's a great way to support teachers in the classroom. And so a lot of crafts I've got already, I'll write a worksheet for it. So my site is obviously brilliant, but it's not very printable. So, the worksheets are literally, you print one page off and you've got all the instructions in one place and you can distribute it to the kids, whatever. So it's about making more of what I've got already. So in terms of, so this will help teachers, but also it'll give me an income stream. It's literally a couple of dollars or whatever. But it is some work to create these worksheets, obviously, and that's fine. But it's about being smart with what I've got already and seeing, with a little bit of extra work, how can I make a lot more? And I think the internet is amazing, it's brilliant, but it's about those eggs and baskets. You need loads of baskets, loads of income streams, and then something will take off and then you focus on it a bit more. Something will fizzle out, so it didn't work. So it's also about trial and error. Not everything's going to work out. And for me, Teachers Pay Teachers is my current sort of, let's see if I can make this work.
Well, I think you're doing great, especially if you're working towards almost what the teacher's curriculum. And I think if there's any teachers or homeschooling parents out there listening, then again, I'll have the links in my show notes for you to get your hands on those printables. And I think also what you're doing with the book, I think that's fantastic, because it's really sort of a kind of, it's a culmination of everything you've been working for in some way, or working or created. And it's putting it all together in this one book. So it's one reference point people can have and actually have a little piece of Red Ted art. I mean, sometimes this is what people want. They want a little bit of merch, they want a little bit of something that they can, touch and feel and really reference.
And as I know, my YouTube viewers love my bookmarks. It has a whole section just on bookmarks.
Did you approach the publisher, or did the publisher approach you to create?
I approached the publisher. So it's an American-based publisher. It's actually being printed in the US. So I do apologize for the American spellings to British readers, but it is just the word color mainly. I approached them, and I think if anyone wants to be published and has aspirations to be published, my tip there would be obviously keep growing your social media. They love it if you've got a good social media presence, but just keep asking. If a friend publishes, ask them who's your publisher. If an acquaintance publishes, ask them who's your agent. Just keep asking, and then eventually, this is actually my second book, and I got the first book published the same way. I just kept asking people who their agent was, who their publisher was, who their whatever, and same with this one. And eventually, or they'll give you feedback, and then you'll hone your offer or whatever, or they'll say, get 100,000 on Facebook, and then we'll talk again. That sort of thing. So you get very specific feedback. And that's really helpful.
That's amazing. So where can we get your current book? Is that on Amazon?
Actually, it's mainly on Amazon, mainly because it's only available secondhand now. It's out of print.
Oh wow! So it's going to be a collector's.
It's a collector's, yes. It's not as practical as the new one. The new one's all about making it simple and easy. But they're both great books for different reasons.
Wow, I'm so impressed with the amount of things that you have created. I mean, it really does make me feel like, whoa, this woman, she knows her stuff. And you've done all that business development, you've done all that contacts to create a business out of something you love doing. And I think it's so commendable, and it really is quite inspiring. And I really hope it's inspired a lot of you if you're listening to this at home. I'm going to wrap this up now. Well, thank you for coming and being one of my first guests.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Take care, and we will speak very soon. If you're looking to rapidly grow your channel but don't know where to start, then join my YouTube Audience Growth Lab, where I take you through the 5 steps to automate your YouTube success so that you can focus on what you love doing most, delivering awesome content and reaching those viewers. The great part is it's available all year round, and I'm offering the first module absolutely free when you sign up today. It's ready and waiting when you are, so now's the time to take action. You can learn more and see what other students are saying by clicking the link in the show notes below. I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.